In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate the process of modifying an e-IDViz model as you're using it within the design process. Now, e-IDViz is really best used as a dynamic blueprint for the high-level decisions that you need to make when organizing a course or a learning experience unit of some type. Now, when creating and modifying these models, you can also use project documentation templates to help include notes and things. So this might be something that you would want to include as you modify the template throughout the design process. So I'm going to zoom in here, and you'll notice in the e-IDViz template framework there's a number of things here. So we can actually drag a note box over for requirements. There's design patterns, performance outputs, and then general project information. And so consider these as informational elements, not necessarily related to the model itself, but more supporting the model and how it would be implemented. So you could include things like we know the project has to do these items 1, 2, and 3. Or your design pattern might be we know it has to be a blended learning framework or something like that. So you're able to include these within these project documentation items. Now, so these can be simply just dragged from the e-IDViz framework onto the design canvas and moved around. And just like the building blocks, they can be double selected and edited there within the design canvas. Now, if you need to actually modify a learning experience unit as you're going through the design process, you'll recall that they can be grouped. So if we select that, it's all moved together. Now, if we want to actually modify something specific in here, so let's say, for example, that we want to modify the placement of dialogue, for example, we can right-click and then select Ungroup. And in that case, we can then move, let's say, hypothetically, the practice before the dialogue, and we can move these around there. So really, anything can be modified there as we go forward. Now, we can also delete items, so we select and delete, and then we can also select the connectors as well. So if we wanted to remove some of that, we could bring in a new dialog component and rearrange those, redescribe it. It really is a pretty flexible framework. And then when we're ready to, when we're done, so we can move these around. Let's say that we just wanted to remove that. So when we're done, then we can select again the entire range within the learning experience unit, and then go ahead and group those back together, and then now the entire learning experience unit will move together. Now, to share an e-IDViz model, because that really is the purpose for this, is to be able to share it. You'll notice that we have a much larger design canvas than what we're using. So I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so you can kind of see. So we're really only using this quadrant here. So in order to prepare this document for sharing, you can go here into right-click Resize Canvas, and you can say Fit Content with Padding. Now, padding will give you a little bit of area around the sides. So I'm going to say 25 and select OK. And now you'll notice that if I zoom out again, all my elements are contained within, are neatly contained within that sized design canvas. Now, if you want to actually share your design model, you can actually go to the export out as a PNG. So here I'm just going to say kite flying. A PNG is just a graphics file. And then by doing that, that actually saves the PNG to your computer where you located it, and that way will allow you to add markup or be able to email that to your design collaborators. And so with e-IDViz, it really is a flexible framework that you can go in and edit, modify, and then share your new ideas out. And this alone gives an immense amount of data in terms of how the learning experience unit is to be designed and the relationships that exist within these building blocks for that. So being able to go back and modify these models is really a critical and very beneficial aspect of using e-IDViz. So in this tutorial, we've talked about the process for modifying and sharing e-IDViz models throughout the design process.